Hello, I'm recording this video on Monday, I think it's the 19th of January, but to me it feels like a Sunday. I've just had the pleasure of my family staying here since December the 25th, and today had 5 visitors, 4 Norwegians and a German. Lovely people. So there now comes that sort of flat feeling of I'm here on my own. Well, I'm not on my own because I have my higher self, my lower self, my fur family, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the rest of the animal kingdom, the flora, the fauna. So there is no alone, really, but alone is all one. So I thought, let's not sort of dwell and feel the sort of sadness. We'll just sit with that. But I thought I'd share a few things with you as we carry on this trajectory on this channel of going deeper into things, going back to source. And some of these videos will not be on YouTube because they're going to be a little bit controversial and very sensitive to the censorship. So you'll only be able to find those in Archaix Underground. And possibly on BitChute as well. But so we're in this year 2026 on this agreed upon or enforced upon calendar. Well, that starts a series of 3 years. This year is the death by centenary of the composer Carl Maria von Weber, who only lived for 39 years. He's within the time frame of Ludwig van Beethoven. So in some ways he's very much overshadowed, but both Liszt and Chopin acknowledged his genius. He stands with one foot firmly in the classical period and the other foot in the romantic period. He is regarded as the father of German opera, where it broke away from the restrictions and impositions of Italian opera and became a lot more expressive, and then paved the way for the likes of Liszt and the symphonic poems, expression in music. So that's 1826, now we're in 2026. The following year, 2027, if we go back 200 years to 1827, was the death of Ludwig van Beethoven, where half of Vienna turned out for his funeral procession. And that is followed in 2028 with the death by centenary of Franz Schubert. So you've got 3 composers there, all leaving this reality over this 3-year period. Now, if we take the year 1837 as the isometric marker, and we go forward 21 years, we come to the year 1847, 1848 and 1849, and we have a repeat pattern of sorts. So 1847 is the death of the Jewish composer Felix Mendelssohn. 1848 could possibly have seen the death of the composer Richard Wagner for his central role in the Leipzig uprising. Now that in itself has an isometric marker of 1902, because 1956, 54 years the other side of 1902, you had the Hungarian uprising. A part of Central Europe where people have risen up and it has been crushed. The same event played out, centered around that 1902. And then going back to this trilogy of 1847 with Mendelssohn, 1848 with what could have been the death of Wagner, that is followed the year later with the death of Friedrich Chopin in 1849. Music is something I will be talking about and going deeper into in future videos, because there is a huge psychological war upon the spirit that is going on in which music is being used in a very negative way as a contrast to what is shown in the most popular way. Something else I've seen in the last few days on Archaix Underground is this talk about and visuals of this X-class flare, solar flare. That's a macro reflection of a micro that is taking place. The revelations that are coming through, the intensity of them are what you could call spiritual downloads, are being reflected in the macro with the sun with these X-class flares. Notice it is X-class, so it's a cross. And it is about getting to the center point. You can see the X as like the 2 points of a pyramid coming point to point. The one as in the Great Pyramid of Giza, and another one coming down. So it forms like an X shape from those sides. So it's nothing to be concerned about. Just see it for what it is. It's there is going to be a huge increase in the intensity of external world events, because there has to be, in a realm of contrast, because the intensity of what some of you will be experiencing is only going to increase in this sort of prelude to being able to exodus from this reality into the photo positive of this reality, of which this is just a shadow. At some point, maybe in a year's time, I really don't know, there is a pending court case in which I will be the star of the show. And in that, I will be able to prove to you just how fast the mind can work. It far outperforms any of these AI things. It's an interesting experiment, because obviously the lower conscious mind is now creating scenes of how it's going to go, and the higher conscious is saying to the lower conscious, and I'm witnessing all this going on internally, this dialogue, that the higher self is saying to the lower self, yes, that's all very well, but how much are you just putting to this as a concept? How much do you know to be true? All that is really known is there are going to be various court officials in certain roles, and I applaud them all for the parts that they are playing. I look forward to that day. What I can tell you is I will go into this with the attitude of fearlessness. How it actually plays out will be a win for oneself, no matter what the outcome of the court case itself. But the AI does not know what I'm going to do, because I of myself don't know until I step into that courtroom and I get a feel of the energies that are there. But it's going to be a very interesting experience, and one I really do look forward to. How many people actually look forward to going to court when they are the one that is being accused? So it's about breaking pattern, and I can't think of a better pattern break than to actually go in with this positive attitude towards it. I'm not worried about the outcome of it at all. That would be an enormous waste of energy to worry. Where the attention goes, the energy will flow. If I start thinking of this through, it's going to be one of doubt and worry and fear, and of course that is going to draw the very things that I don't want towards me. So we go into this with an attitude of being positive. I don't even have a concern about the outcome of it. All I know is it's going to be fun, and I shall certainly enjoy it. almost as much as I'm enjoying sitting here in sort of mid-January in Portugal in the Algarve, and I'm sitting in sunshine. It's not that warm. It would be nice if it was a little bit warmer, but at least it's dry and it is bright and it is natural light. That is something else I'm going to be talking about. I think in the next video, we're going to go and look at the going back to source idea when it comes to the nourishment for these physical avatars, because there are many advocates of this or that diet, but it misses the most fundamental part about it all, which is going right back to source with food. So I'll leave that to the next video. We're already up to almost 11 minutes here, and I wanted to keep this brief. An interesting observation, just to end this, is those corporate shortbread biscuits and squares of chocolate, very high in sugar. Very interesting to see the total change in behaviour of a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old after consuming a little bit of both. How it affected their behaviour in a very negative way. So really do be extremely careful on what you are giving your children. If you wonder why their behaviour is, shall we say, or can be less than acceptable, consider what is in some of these foods. Certainly from the perspective I have now on food, I can taste something and I can separate all the different flavours with the taste buds on the tongue, and it's like, oh, there's something chemical in that, there's some sugar in that, there's some salt been added to that, and so on and so on. It doesn't affect me in the same way, because these physical bodies are very good at processing and expelling what is not required, which is far better than having a fear of whatever you consume. Certainly there are things that I would recommend avoiding completely, like instant ready meals and what is called fast food. If you want fast food, be a cat and go and catch a bird or a lizard or something. But we're not of the animal kingdom. We are slightly different from that. Even a drive-through, if you have the constitution of a seagull, then it's not going to affect you because you can drive it through the body and get rid of it. Unfortunately, many in a human avatar can't do that. So instead of getting an expanded consciousness, like everything else, it follows the pattern that this reality will play things out in a very physical, surface level interpretation. So instead of having an expanded consciousness, many are getting an expanded waistline instead, because it's all been turned into literal and physical. But it is actually something esoteric. It is something far more deep and meaningful. And of course, this all goes on in oneself. While I think of it, something else that I've been experiencing in recent weeks, the ringing in the ears is something that comes and goes every now and again. It does vary depending on who I'm interacting with. But there's something else which I call kaleidoscope eye. It's as if one of your eyes is looking through a kaleidoscope. And you get that sort of pixelated effect, which is rather strange when one eye is doing it and the other one is not. But that, I would suggest, is opening up to seeing this reality in two forms. It's certainly not something to be worried about. It's not macular degeneration or anything. It's opening you up to a new way of seeing things. It's not dissimilar to something like an ayahuasca journey, when you can look at nature and you see all the trees in their energy form rather than in the physical form. They don't actually look that different. I could liken them to looking like when a firework explodes in the sky and it sort of has the shape of a tree. That's basically what trees look like in their energy form. It's like everything else, trying to describe things with words. The words actually can become quite inadequate. The only way you're going to know, and the language and the way you'll be able to see these things, is when you contact your higher self and you make that strong connection that is required. That is reflected in, if you wish to use the internet, you need a strong Wi-Fi connection in order to do that. It follows the same pattern. It's like still life. You can see something, the subject matter in the center of the table, generally a fruit bowl. If you're seeing it from one side of the table, you will have a certain perspective on things. We could say that is a negative perspective, but if we go round to the other side of the table, you will get a different perspective, which we could call the positive perspective. But what if it's a masterclass? What if you are the one holding the masterclass? Then you are not fixed to any side of that table, and you see things from a higher perspective, played out in the physical in that particular analogy. And you get to see things from all sides, all angles. You have all-round vision. So that's a beautiful analogy I like to use. Because, yes, you can see this whole reality as something very negative. But equally, you can find the balance and find in your individual worlds that you can make a positive change. You can actually stop time as well. I'll talk about that further in a future video as we go into this series. And it will lead to talking about a lot more sensitive things that are going to come across as possibly offensive to some of you. But I would ask that you listen all the way through without any preconceived ideas, and then weigh these things up for yourself. Because this reality is far from the way we're told it is. We are far more than we are told we're supposed to be. What I put myself through is just purely to prove this to myself, and then share my experiences from a place of testimony rather from coming from a place of it just being a concept. So health issues and things are not really an issue. They create a new challenge, but I'm in no fear of it. Quite the opposite. It's a strength that I can draw upon because it is revealing so much. So I will be sharing more of that in future videos as well. So I hope this has whet your appetite, as it were, to see where this goes and see what resonates for you. There is no one size fits all, but there are certainly blueprint patterns we can look at and then see how they fit in and how they can be applied to our own individual circumstances. And in doing so, you will find that you create a far better world around yourself within a larger world where that world of the collective are going to experience an apocalypse. Whereas from this perspective, you will actually witness an epoch collapse, just the end of a chapter and the start of something new, which is almost just been confirmed with the sun intensity coming through much warmer. I love the divine timing of all these things, the way these things just come. It's just observation of things without having judgment of them, and just these revelations will just keep coming. This is the time of revelations after all, and they are on a very individual level, which we can share with each other and help others along the way. We're just passing through this reality anyway. There is coming a point where the exit door is going to open, and it's going to be a breeze. That's the best way I can put that. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there because we've now gone up to 20 minutes. So as always, unconditional love to you all.